Welcome back to an exciting episode of Cyber Defense TV. I'm your host, Gary Malevsky. I'm the publisher of Cyber Defense Magazine. Now, you all know that I have a hot seat where I put in some of the greatest executives in the cybersecurity industry. And the area that I consider the greatest fear factor is encryption. Nobody uses it enough. So Richard Bleck is here, the CEO and founder of SecureChannels. Again, if you don't have strong encryption, the data is stolen. Richard, welcome.
Thank you very much, Gary. Pleasure to be here.
So I'm always talking about this. There's a breach. Anthem, 80 million records. The CISO says, sorry. Oh, yeah, we didn't encrypt the data. Data at rest, data in motion, not encrypted. How can you help solve these kinds of problems? It's in the news all the time.
Yes, and it will always continue to be in the news, and especially now with GDPR coming to expose much more or force the exposure of much more of these breaches. I think the market will have to start taking this more seriously because it's hitting the pocketbook, and it's also will affect customer confidence. So we take a view that, there's a lot of solutions out there. There's no silver bullet. I mean, that's cliche, but it really is true. But encryption is an essential part of the security stack, and we provide different implementations around encryption. Some of them are our own algorithms that are very agile and specifically designed to be encryption for now and lasting and with archive strength, as we call it, for the future that will abate the mass surveillance that goes on by foreign countries because data has a value, and some critical data, much of it has a value years ahead of now. And the Chinese and others have the ability with their supercomputers and eventually quantum to be able to harvest and warehouse all this critical data, especially financial and otherwise, and break it later because they'll have the compute power to be able to do that. So we've devised an encryption algorithm, implementations and systems, all available in SDK, that will be able to not only protect data now, but protect it quantum-proof for the future.
Quantum-proof for the future.
Yes.
So you have an SDK, we can OEM or private label or white label your SecureChannels encryption technology today.
Correct. Technologies.
And we can leverage them in multiple ways. So one facet would be, I'm tired of how difficult it is to convince people to have encrypted email. Can we plug you into our email system?
Absolutely. So we devised a very agnostic tool, since the encryption is agnostic the way it's developed anyways. And so this email tool is a plug-in to Microsoft Outlook. And it's not just about the encryption. So the encryption encrypts the whole message, including any attachments. But we want to make sure sender and recipient are known commodities and are really them. So we, again, thought this all the way through. So the classic Alice and Bob relationship, we have verified. We know that Alice is Alice and Bob is Bob. And if you think about it, when you're sending Gary an encrypted message and I want to send it to you, I'm probably sure I don't want someone else reading it too. So we put provisions in there about forwarding, not able to forward, copy, or otherwise. We also can time bomb the email message so it disappears from the inbox at a certain designated time. That this is a preference. And more importantly, and probably the most important, is we've added a biometric, either facial recognition or fingerprint. So in the case of facial recognition, the camera verifies on the laptop, on the mobile, that you are you while you decrypt. It's part of the decryption paradigm. So it will only decrypt if it verifies that it's you. And if someone else is in the view, it will not open as well.
So SecureChannels gives me some ideas in where you're headed in OEM and opportunities. Operating systems need your technology, like my iPhone, right? Or my Samsung. Wallets, I've been really annoyed in the crypto. I wrote a book that's now a bestseller called Cryptoeconomy. And I'm talking about Bitcoins, blockchains, and bad guys. And when I meet with consumers and say, how are you doing with your Ethereum or your Bitcoin or whatever it is, or your Litecoin, they say it's cool, but I don't understand it. It's too technical. I wish it could be visual to log in and log out. And I don't really want to remember a strong password, but I'm supposed to make one. And a year from now, I don't think I'll even remember how to get back in my wallet. Can you solve that problem?
Yes, I mean, that's the great thing about that. So we developed a technology which has been patented called SBROSA, which is an acronym actually. It stands for Simple User-Based Resource-Oriented Segmentation Architecture. And the first letter in that is simple. So we wanted to make it simple for the user. The resource is any binary object. The most popular to use would be an image. So we have set up a system where users can use stock images, or an enterprise could, and users can upload their own images. Images they know, they are part of the image, took the image, it's familiar to them, they'll remember that.
These are my private images, you're saying,
yes,
right? My family photos.
For example.
Which nobody else really has, and if they had them, they still would know in what order I want to put my family on the screen.
Yes, so part of the design is there is a grid that comes over, and you pick segments, and the enterprise or user would define how many segments that would be. But for just 4 segments of an image, anywhere you would choose in the grid, that would equal about 65,000 characters. That's the real password. But for you, it's just 4 segments that you would remember.
That's
so
incredible.
The design is not a CAPTCHA. It's actually creating a cryptographic key.
So from the user interface perspective of accessing a device, an operating system, my phone, my tablet, my email, my Bitcoin storage, you've solved the get me in better than LastPass or any other password system that's unhackable, the way you've designed it. Unless someone sits over my shoulder watching me pick my password?
Well, no, see, that doesn't even work. So, first of all, someone like LastPass, great system, very cool, and it helps, but there's a master password. The master password is a QWERTY keyboard numeric password. What do you do then? You lose your master password, or someone gets that. Well, that's bad news, and we believe with something like Subrosa, that would definitely clear that obstacle.
That's great. So you've solved the ease of use to get into some encrypted storage. What about data in transit? Are you encrypting the data in transit? Do you have an SDK or an OEM-able piece of technology that I could use today?
Yeah, that's the great thing. That is called exotic, which stands for XOR Transient Integrated Cipher. And it's a hybrid of a streaming block cipher. And the native encryption strength, symmetric, not asymmetric, is 512-bit encryption.
And if this were a refrigerator, a Samsung or an LG, but I want one that's hospital ready, a refrigerator for storing blood, I do not want it hacked remotely. And right now you can hack into these refrigerators. They have known vulnerabilities. They're not encrypted access, and you can shut them off. So you could ruin a blood supply at a hospital if you had a smart refrigerator.
You can cause a lot of damage. And guess what, Gary? We can even get smaller than that. If holograms are starting to be used now to store data, none of that's encrypted because it's too hard to get traditional encryption on a hologram that's holding data, like on your credit card or that's on luxury goods items.
That's amazing. So whether it's physical encryption on the hologram to bits and bytes encryption on my iPhone's operating system, or data storage around a database, or access to my email, SecureChannels has the toolkit that I need to license, integrate with OEM or private label today.
Yes, we did.
That's fantastic. What a great interview. So what I want to do, thank you for sitting in the hot seat again. I want to do it again soon.
Sure.
And tell our viewers, go to SecureChannels.com. And our listeners, if you are ready to OEM the greatest security technology out there for encryption, this is the place to go. SecureChannels. Check them out today. And then come back next time for an exciting episode again of Cyber Defense TV. Thank you.